The community on edge ahead of what could be a landmark trial for policing and racial justice. Former police officer Derek Chauvin is charged with killing George Floyd last May. And today, a judge will consider adding a third-degree murder charge, which could delay that trial. Chauvin was seen on cell phone video kneeling on Floyd's neck while Floyd repeatedly said that he couldn't breathe. It's the case that prompted riots in Minneapolis, even here in Fargo last summer, and unrest in many other cities across the country. Meanwhile, today, Grand Forks could see their mask mandate expire after a long stretch of low COVID-19 numbers in that community. The Valley Today's Brian Sherrod spoke with the doctor in charge and brings us the latest. Good morning, Brian.
And good morning, Jordan. Dr. Joel Walls from All True states that COVID-19 numbers have declined very nicely over the last 14 days. This is enough to expire the mask mandate later this morning. Now, Dr. Walls uses the Grand Forks COVID-19 data dashboard for references. Green is the color needed. If red, the mask mandate would stay in place. This comes from high COVID-19 numbers, hospitalizations, and deaths. The variant still causes a concern, so they are keeping a close eye on that. Even with a mask mandate dropped, you still need to remember that the COVID-19 pandemic still exists.
I don't want to send a message that it's not important to wear a mask. We've reached a level where an official order with infraction penalties in place, that part doesn't need to be there, but we still need to be, cautious and smart.
Now, Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney is also indicating that he will allow the city's mask mandate to expire on March 22nd. Mayor Mahoney says if the city can get through phase 1B of vaccinations, the data will show that the mask mandate won't need to extend.
Brian Sherrod reporting live on this topic, and we'll follow it throughout the day. Thank you very much. New this morning, two elderly Minnesotans and a state trooper, they're hurt after a crash involving a squad car on an emergency run. It happened yesterday afternoon in Hanley Falls in southwestern Minnesota. The State Patrol says an 88-year-old man failed to yield to a police car with its emergency lights on at an intersection of two county roads. The front of the squad hit the passenger side of the man's SUV. Both he and his 83-year-old passenger are being treated for serious injuries. The trooper was not badly hurt, but both cars are totaled. 6:52 now on our Monday morning. We want to get a check of that forecast. It should turn out to be a pretty nice day out there for us today. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. Yes, it definitely feels like we're well into spring right now with temperatures this weekend that warmed up, and we continue that trend to start off the week. And in fact, we may break some records. So we're keeping an eye on that today and tomorrow for Monday and Tuesday here, both Fargo and Grand Forks threatening some records. Today's record in Fargo, 54. Our forecast is higher than that. And in Grand Forks, our record is 48, and our forecast is higher than that too. So likely to break some of those records. We've got some beautiful sunshine on the way. This is a live view in Grand Forks. We'll see that sun peek over the horizon in just a couple of minutes here with some clear skies. That'll allow us to enjoy some mostly sunny conditions here this morning, and we'll warm up in a hurry. We're currently in the 20s and low 30s, so below freezing in most areas. The one exception, Roseau at 36 degrees. It's 22 in Grand Forks, 25 in Fargo. The wind nice and light. That's been the issue. We've got the warmer temperatures, but that wind really cuts into you when you're out and about in that. So today, this morning especially, it's pretty quiet. We're looking at wind speeds less than 10 miles per hour. And again, those clear skies and quiet conditions. So waiting out at the bus stop, the kids will want the coat here this morning. They may forget it at school this afternoon, looking at temperatures back into the 50s to even a couple of spots getting into the low 60s. Remember Fargo's record high for the state, 54. I'm forecasting high of 58 degrees rather. And a few more clouds developing this afternoon as well. And we're looking at some wind and clouds increasing into tonight in advance of an even bigger surge of warmer air for Tuesday. Here's a look at our temperature trend over the next 10 days. This just gives you an idea of where we stand compared to average. Our average high in Fargo is 32 degrees. We're going to be well above that the next couple of days. In fact, at the top of the charts, we kind of get back to reality for the rest of the week starting Wednesday and hang around average for the stretch there. So that gives you an idea of where we are in relation to this time of year, the typical kind of weather we expect to see. And even though we've got that first alert weather day on Wednesday and we're going to cool things back down, we're still running above average and we stay that way through the week. with more springtime on the way. And in fact, we spring forward Saturday night and into Sunday with daylight saving time starting this weekend.
All right, looking forward to the warming temps. Lisa, thank you very much. There is a big track repair job ahead after this train derailment in Plymouth, Minnesota. Take a look. Authorities say about a dozen cars of a Canadian Pacific freight train went off the tracks around 1 yesterday afternoon. No one was hurt, but there is significant damage to those tracks. A number of the train cars that derailed were carrying molten sulfur, but there's no indication that any of the cars were leaking and there were no evacuations nearby. A home in the Southern Valley is a total loss after a weekend fire. A neighbor called it in around 6:30 Saturday night on County Road 10 Southeast. No one was home at the time and there is no word on a cause. The family is now being helped with their immediate needs by the Red Cross. Fire crews, they're keeping an eye out for hot spots at this mobile home park in Mideast. All 4 of the city's fire stations had to be called in to stop the flames from one home from spreading to others. The fire started around 5 yesterday evening in the southeast part of town. No word on a cause or if anyone was hurt. A small-town North Dakota fire department lost its building and most of its trucks after a weekend fire. It happened around 5 Saturday morning in Glenburn. That's in Renville County along the Canadian border. Firefighters say they lost a large pumper truck, a tanker, 3 grass fire units, and a rescue truck, and they are still trying to figure out what started that fire. 2 B-52s out of the Minot Air Force Base flew over the Mideast yesterday in the latest mission in that region aimed at warning Iran amid tensions between Washington and Tehran. This photo was taken Saturday as pilots prepared for their flights. The U.S. military's Central Command says the 2 B-52s flew over the region accompanied by military aircraft from nations including Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. It marks the 4th such bomber deployment into the Mideast this year and the 2nd under President Joe Biden. The North Dakota Air National Guard's 119th Wing, based in Fargo, it now has a new commander. Colonel Mitch Johnson took over the unit known as the Happy Hooligans on Saturday. He replaces Darren Anderson, who will stay with the National Guard as an assistant general. It has been a year since the start of the pandemic, and many of us have learned to adapt and try to thrive during these times. That includes the Girl Scouts, whose annual cookie drive usually means a lot of face-to-face interactions. But they are adjusting their sales tactics to match new social rules to stay COVID safe.
It means a lot. These girls have been in Scouts for 9 years, and so they're very passionate about what they're doing. And it feels good to have support from the community so that they can go forth and become leaders.
It's very interesting because you can't really go around and sell cookies to houses because people really don't like that. But yeah, it's been interesting and fun. Girl Scouts has basically been a savior, especially during this whole pandemic. It really helped me step out of my shell more. Before I was I got kind of nervous doing stuff like this, and then with booths it really just opened me up, and I just really like doing them.
There are lots of Girl Scout cookie options, but an informal viewer poll says that the most liked, those are the Samoas and the Thin Mints. North Dakota students, they're being asked to take an online survey to give feedback about their learning experiences during COVID-19. The survey is intended for public school students in grades K through 12 and their families. It focuses on topics like in-person versus distance learning, whether students had reliable internet service, and what tools their schools provided them.
If things are going well with students and families, how do we make sure that that's not lost? And as we return to non-pandemic educational times, that we integrate those. We want to capture those, but we also want to see where areas that we can improve.
Baszler says the survey is brief and should take no longer than 15 minutes. We do have a link to it on our website. That's valleynewslive.com. Let's get the answer now to that question of the morning on Facebook. That question today, 17% of people will do this while on vacation. The answer is buy a souvenir for their pet. The bones just taste different when they come from Florida, I guess. The Today Show and CBS This Morning, it's just about to start, but the Valley Today rolls on. We have more live up-to-the-minute news and weather coming up right now on the Fargo CW.